Imagine you are sitting around a dying fire 30,000 years ago. The endless winter forest around you is completely pitch black. No stone walls to hide your family behind. No heavy wooden doors to lock out the terrifying unknown. No modern weapons to fight the massive beasts lurking nearby. No safe place to close your heavy eyes and sleep. You hear deep, hungry growls moving closer in the freezing wind. Your fragile human body is hopelessly defenseless against the wild. So what would an ancient human do to survive? The night was not just an absence of light, it was a heavy, breathing presence. Out there beyond the dying embers, the world belonged to monsters. Our ancestors were painfully aware of their own bodies. They felt the soft skin that could tear easily. They felt the blunt teeth that could not pierce thick hide. They felt the slow legs that could not outrun a hungry predator in the brush. They were fragile. They were slow. They were walking prey. They knew fear. They knew the cold sweat that comes when the forest goes completely quiet. They knew the desperate panic of holding a fragile wooden spear in two trembling hands. They knew the dark. They knew sudden death. It was always watching them from just outside the warm circle of light. A rustle in the dry leaves meant hidden danger. A snapped branch meant a terrifying hunt had begun. A low growl meant someone was not going to see the morning sun. We have to understand this deep physical terror to truly understand their survival choices. To survive the long, freezing nights, they desperately needed something more than sharp stones and burning branches. They needed an ally who inherently understood the endless, pitch-black night. They needed a wild creature whose senses were much sharper, whose teeth were far deadlier, and whose fierce loyalty could firmly stand between soft human flesh and the unforgiving wilderness. The naked human body was simply not strong enough to conquer the brutal ancient world alone. They had to quickly find a way to tip the scales of survival. They needed a formidable protector who was born from the very shadows they always feared. So what would an ancient human do to protect the pack? Tame the most powerful killing machine in the forest? If you are freezing in the dark, surrounded by relentless threats, logic seems incredibly simple. You find the biggest, strongest thing out there. You look at the bear. A bear is massive. A bear is a towering mountain of muscle, fat, and heavy bone. A bear has thick, dense fur that easily defeats the freezing night air. Imagine the sheer physical power of having a massive bear guarding your fragile camp. A roaring, unstoppable giant standing fiercely between your vulnerable family and the deadly shadows. It sounds like the perfect ancient weapon. It sounds like the ultimate survival strategy to conquer the harsh wild. Wrong theory, real biology. We have to be careful here. Pure physical strength does not equal survival. Raw muscle does not equal loyalty. A bear is incredibly strong, but a bear is entirely solitary. A bear wanders the endless winter forest completely alone. It hunts alone, it eats alone, it bleeds alone, it survives alone. That matters. That matters deeply because survival itself requires deep connection. A creature that lives alone has absolutely no biological concept of a pack. It has no instinct to protect a group. It has no innate understanding of shared territory, shared food, or shared defense. You cannot simply command an animal that is fundamentally programmed by nature to be isolated. The bear has no basic foundation of social structure to build upon. Domestication is not just about capturing a beast and holding it tightly. It is a highly complex biological treaty. It requires a shared language of hierarchy, submission, and belonging. The bear simply does not speak this silent language. So our Depress ancestors could not tame the mountain of muscle. They could not magically force a solitary giant into a fragile human family. The ultimate protector they needed was not the strongest creature in the woods. The ultimate protector was not the biggest. It was something else entirely. It was an animal that already understood the vital importance of the group. An animal that already knew how to deeply connect, how to hunt together, sleep together, and fight together, always. We often like to think we mastered the wild. We imagine a brave ancient hunter walking into the freezing woods, capturing a snarling wolf cub and bending nature to his will. We like to think we were the ones in total control. But history is rarely that simple. The actual truth hidden in the shadows of our ancient fires is far more fascinating. We did not choose the wolf. The wolf chose us. Imagine the edge of a human camp. The fire is burning low. The rich, heavy smell of roasting meat drifts into the freezing trees. Out there in the pitch black, eyes are watching. A wild wolf does not attack the roaring flames. A wolf does not blind large into the circle of light. It waits. It watches. It steps just close enough to the warmth to find the discarded bones and the leftover scraps left in the snow. This was not a hostile invasion. This was an ancient negotiation, and it only worked because the human and the wolf shared a profound biological mirror. The wolf already understood the pack. The wolf understood family. A wolf knows how to read the body language of its peers. A wolf knows how to hunt in a coordinated group, how to share the kill, and how to defend the territory together. They were social creatures surviving in a brutal world, exactly like us. Sometimes the greatest shifts in history are quiet. A shadow creeping closer to the fire night after night can suggest a slow buildup of trust. A discarded bone picked clean by the tree line can suggest an unspoken treaty. They realized that staying near the fragile human hunters meant easier meals. We realized that having a pack of highly sensitive predators lurking at the edge of our camp meant an early warning system against worse monsters. It was a perfect alignment of two parallel social structures. We did not violently conquer them in the deep woods. We did not domesticate them by force. They simply realized our fires provided warmth and our scraps provided life. The fierce predators of the dark slowly decided that walking beside us was better than hunting us. They traded the absolute freedom of the freezing wilderness for the safety of the glowing embers. The ultimate ancient alliance was formed not by a spear, but by a shared meal in the freezing dark. We often think that nature only rewards the completely ruthless. A sharper tooth, a stronger bite, a much faster strike. So we naturally assume the most aggressive wolves dominated everything. Wrong theory. Real biology. The human camps were extremely dangerous. Humans had sharp spears, blazing fire, and absolute sheer terror. A highly aggressive wolf approaching the fire would be killed. A highly terrified wolf would run far, far away, and so who survives? The quiet ones, the very calm ones. This incredible biological process is actually known as self-domestication. It was not driven by human mastery or forced control. It was entirely driven by the wild wolves themselves adapting. The specific individuals that stayed near the fire shared something. They shared a hidden physical trait deep inside their bodies. They were the least aggressive members of their entire species. Their wild bodies produced much lower levels of a hormone. The hormone cortisol, which directly triggers intense fear and stress. That matters. That matters deeply because low cortisol changes everything. A wolf with low cortisol does not panic at all. A wolf with low cortisol can simply look at us. Over thousands of long years, this complete lack of aggression suddenly became their single greatest and most powerful survival tool. They absolutely did not need to hunt if they waited. The most tolerant wolves survived and bred with each other. Slowly, generation after generation, their physical bodies changed into dogs. Their minds completely rewired to inherently understand our human gestures. Evolution is almost always described to us as a war, but in that freezing ancient dark, ultimate survival was different. It did not belong to the most vicious solitary killer. It belonged to the calmest, not fangs, but biological tolerance. They survived by simply choosing to be our closest friends. Think back to that endless winter forest, the dying embers, the terrifying pitch-black night where monsters waited in the cold. Now look across your living room. Look at the dog sleeping quietly on your warm couch under the bright, safe lights. We often look at them and think we conquered the wild. We think we proudly marched into the terrifying dark, captured the fierce wolf, and bent nature to our human will. But the quiet evidence tells a much deeper story. Having a dog in your home is not a monument to human conquest. It is not a trophy of our mastery over the brutal natural world. It is a biological treaty. It is a shared promise born in the freezing shadows. It is the absolute oldest survival pact in the history of our fragile human species. We survived the endless freezing dark because they ultimately chose to sit beside our warm fires forever. Zen okay.